Aloha, my name is Cadiz. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to get up on foil and stay on foil. Now if you haven't seen my video on the fundamentals of wing control, you should watch that now. And then second, beginner's guide to using the wing. After you've seen those, have a look at this one. We're going to work on how to get up on foil and stay on foil. I'm going to go through the progression of how to do it correctly, and then we're going to come back and troubleshoot the common problems that people have. So if you're ready, let's go. For the record, I weigh 140 pounds. The wing that I'm using is a Duotone Echo 4 meter. The board I'm using is a Fanatic SkySup Windsurf Edition. It's 6'11" and 142 liters. The foil I'm using is a GoFoil Maliko Model 200 with a 24-inch mast or 60 centimeters. Before you get in the water, be sure that your leashes are firmly attached, both board and wing. When you enter the water, you should have your wing overhead. You don't want any waves grabbing your wingtip. You also want to keep your wing on the leeward side of the foil, or downwind side of the foil. Even though the wing I'm using has a boom, everything in this video can be learned with a wing that has handles. The easiest way to get up is on one knee, but it's not the only method. You might favor one leg over the other, using that leg to get up, whether you're getting up on port or starboard. You may find that maybe your legs aren't strong enough and you need a little extra help. A more advanced method is to use one leg on the deck of the board and powering the wing to pull you to your feet. This is a more advanced method, and it's better suited for smaller boards and strong legs. Regardless of how you get to your feet, a common problem is the wingtip drags in the water as you're standing up. Remember, you want to keep the wing over your head to take advantage of the vertical lift it'll give you as you get to your feet. Once you get to your feet, you can bring the wing down for horizontal drive. Now, to get up on foil, you need to have some decent wind, or at least enough to get some board speed. The foil won't really engage until it has a fair amount of water flow over the foil. As you get more speed, you're ready to get up on foil. Shifting your weight to the back foot just for a moment can help pop it up on foil. But lean forward to put it back down. So in the beginning, you're just going to be doing touch and goes. Shifting the weight back to come up, shifting the weight forward to come down. Again, a wide stance is important here. So you're going to get a little speed. Push on the back foot and then lean forward and put it down. So in the very beginning, you're just going to work on touch and goes. You don't want to get very high, put it back down. At the end of your run, I recommend getting off foil and doing your easy jibe. And starting again. Now at this stage, this is where you're most likely to have a scissor. And that is, if you don't stay directly over the top of the board can jackknife and you fall on the board.
it's a good idea to wear some kind of impact vest or some kind of padding. Even a helmet's a good idea, just till you're past this stage. Now, we learned in the first video that when you bring the wing down, you get more drive and more speed. So if you're losing control, bring the wing back overhead, and that's going to slow you down. Plus, having the wing overhead, it gives you something to hang on to. It's better than when it's lower here. Now, a couple techniques you can use to get up in lighter wind is to rock the board. I kind of start with rocking the board by pushing down on the back foot. But that each time I rock the board, it engages the foil and steps up the board just a little bit.
With each step, there's less wetted surface, less drag, until the board breaks free of the surface.
All right, to get up on foil, you can simply go faster. If you don't have enough wind, one thing you can do is rock the board by pumping your legs. And you can also pump the wing. Now, if you do all three, try and get the board up to speed, and pump the wing and pump the board.
Now, with all the effort pumping the wing and pumping the board, it's easy to lose track of the wingtip, and it seems to get caught on the water or in front of the board right at the critical moment. If the wingtip starts to drag, push down and away on the back of the boom. Use your peripheral vision to keep an eye on that wingtip.
You really need to be able to harness the power of the wing to push the board up on foil.
If you come to the sport without any sailing background, you'll need to learn how to control the amount of power in the sail. Sailors call this trimming the sail, or sheeting, and it refers to opening and closing the sail to spill and catch the wind. Now, you can learn this out on the water, but you can also isolate the skill by finding a place on the beach where the wind is relatively steady and practice sheeting in and sheeting out, getting a feel for controlling the amount of power in the sail.
One of the most common problems is standing in the wrong spot on the board. And standing too far back will result in the board doing a wheelie and either stall like that or falling into the water.
To solve the problem, start with moving your front foot forward just a little bit. Another thing you can do is try to gain more speed as you come up out of the water. And lastly, when the board does come up out of the water, get more weight on the front foot to level the board off.
Now there's a fulcrum on the board, right about there. Or a balance point. I want to be on each side of that. If I'm too far back and the board starts to come up on foil, I can't push it down with my front foot. It's just going to dump me off the back. There's hope if I inchworm my toes further forward. But often, once you're back on it, it's going to dump you off the back. The other one is too far forward. No matter how fast you go, it's just not going to come up. really important where your feet are on the board. Now this board, this Jimmy Lewis model, has the graphics on the deck, and there are good landmarks on about where you should place your feet. You also have foot strap inserts, and I don't recommend foot straps at the beginning stage. Later, you'll find them very comfortable, especially if you want to do some jumping. But for now, no foot straps. And what I've done on boards that don't have graphics, like this Fanatic board. So this Fanatic board has good landmark stripes here on the back. I tell my students to put their feet right around this red. And in the front here, your foot's going to be somewhere on port or starboard side, and then fore and aft. And what I've done is just drawn some lines here. Again, this is my school board, but these are just good landmarks on where to place your feet, where you had success, so next time put your foot there. So you can do something similar like this if you don't have landmarks on your board. I encourage, if you're too far forward, move your back foot further back. On the other extreme, if you're too far back, move your front foot forward. Start with a wide stance. That'll allow you to shift the weight fore and aft to compensate for being one way or the other. As you get better, you're more comfortable riding the foil, you're going to get your feet closer together. Now, aside from front to back, there is side to side movement. When you're on foil turning, you really want to keep your weight centered over the top of the board. Like riding a bicycle, when the bicycle banks over, your body banks into it as well. So I'm doing this with a little toe pressure, little heel pressure, like banking through on a bicycle if you've ridden a skateboard or a snowboard, a surfboard. So as I'm making these gentle turns, I'm also making very subtle adjustments to trim the front and back. Not getting too high, not getting too low. No matter how good you get, you'll always be trimming the foil up and down. So you've engaged the foil and you've got it up now. And you're flying. And oh, what a sensation. It's so quiet. Kind of like powder snowboarding. And you're above the chop. You don't feel the bumps. It's really an exhilarating feeling. But if you get too high on the foil will not fly in the air. Air gets around the foil and will cause the board to just drop. This is called overfoiling or ventilation, and it usually doesn't end well. Ventilation can occur when the foil gets too close to the surface of the water. In this case, the tip of the foil breaks the surface and the air is drawn in. There's a feeling it'll give you, maybe even a sound that the foil makes before it overfoils. At that point it might be too late, but you really want to try and get your weight forward and put it back down before it comes out of the water. As you get more experience with the foil, you'll learn how not to overfoil, and when you do, you'll learn how to recover. All right, now that you got enough speed to get up on foil, and you're comfortable with trimming the foil and surfing the foil, can start feeling more confident about going faster. What you'll find is the faster you go, the more lift the foil will create. So you may have to move forward on the board. Now if you find that the board is porpoising, jumping out of the water, you can't control it. It might be that your foil is too far forward in the track. So try and move it back. Then you're going to move it around to where you want. I prefer it all the way back, maybe because I'm lighter and I want to stand further forward on the board. It gives me more leverage to hold it down. If you're a bigger person, you might want it further forward. You're going to just have to experiment, but if you're starting off, just start with it in the middle and then move it around until you figure out what you like. I think over time though, you're going to want it all the way back. I have had them come loose on me. After my session, I'd end up missing one of the bolts, and in one case the other three were loose. Now I don't know if this foil floats, but I don't want to find out the hard way. So maybe after a session, double check that they're tight. Okay, we're good to go. Let's go winging. If you find that it's still jumping out of the water, even though you're getting further and further forward, it might be that your back foil is angled with a lot of pitch in it. If you look at the foil, the front foil creates lift, and so does the back foil, but the back foil presses or lifts down. If you look at the pitch here, this wing is angled slightly like this, so it's actually pulling the back down as the front wing lifts. So it's this pitch here that's critical. Now on the Maliko 200 here, this thing is very well balanced, and it's only going to overfoil at extreme speeds, but it's pretty well balanced. It's the ones with the adjustability that you want to have a look at to make sure that it's set right. Now most of the manufacturers have a system to change that pitch, either with a spacer or a wedge or some form of adjustability. So it might be that that's giving you too much lift. And at a low speed, it's no problem, you can override it. But once you start going fast, then it's a little harder to control. As you get more comfortable on the foil, both trimming and steering, your peripheral vision will get wider. You'll start looking around. You still need to trim the foil, but it'll start to be automatic. That you won't have to think about it as much. Especially if you're relaxed, the foil really wants to find its own way just below the surface of the water. If you're tense, it tends to jump out of the water. But now, because it's more automatic, you can start thinking about other skills, like jiving. Which we'll cover in our next video.